Redpath, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Chairman Camp, Ranking Member 11, and other members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Jim Redpath. I am the managing partner and a tax partner at HLB Todges Redpath, a 125-person accounting firm serving clients in the Midwest. I've been a tax accountant for over 30 years, working primarily with closely held businesses, many of which are S corporations. Let me begin by thanking the committee, and in particular the chairman, for his hard work to improve the tax code. At our firm, we help hundreds of closely held businesses make better decisions that create value and jobs. Those efforts are hindered by a tax code that is simply too complex. The rules governing S corporations are a good example. The S corporation promotes private business, capital investment, and increased employment, but they are subject to various restrictions that adversely impact ownership, capital, and growth. The chairman's discussion draft helps mitigate some of these restrictions. I'll start with the built-in gains provision. In 1986, the Tax Reform Act repealed the general uses to sell their assets and liquidate the business while paying a single level of tax. The repeal meant that for the first time there would be double tax on the sale of corporate assets followed by a liquidation. The Tax Reform Act was a wonderful piece of bipartisan legislation, but this repeal wasn't. The House version included a 2-year rule designed to prevent avoidance of this new double tax. The Senate version had no repeal at all. One would expect negotiations to result in an anti-avoidance rule somewhere between 0 and 2 years. However, the final bill enacted the built-in gains tax with a 10-year anti-avoidance rule. This is referred to as the big tax. The purpose of the final rule is similar to the House provision, to prevent a C corporation from converting to an S corporation when a sale was imminent just to avoid the double tax. The impact went well beyond that purpose. Today, if an S corporation sells certain property or collects certain types of income before the end of the recognition period, the combined tax can be as high as 60%. No company willingly triggers the big tax. I find big tax causes many S corporations to hold unproductive assets. For example, I work with a road contractor who's sitting on old equipment out in the boneyard rusting away that could be sold to raise capital for expanding the business and hiring more people. That investment potential is being stymied by the big tax. Other clients would like to sell their businesses to up-and-coming entrepreneurs or employee groups, but can't because of the prohibitive tax. The IRS says tens of thousands of corporations convert to S corporations each year. The big tax effectively locks up for a decade some of the capital of these companies, limiting new investments and the creation of jobs. Congress recognized that a 10-year recognition period is too long and has voted to reduce it 3 separate times, but each time this reduction has been temporary. A temporary extension forces many businesses into a difficult position. Should they sell assets or the business prematurely to take advantage of a temporary window, or hold off and hope Congress extends it again? Making the 5-year recognition period permanent is good tax policy and would provide S corporations stability and certainty so they can make business decisions that are best for the company, its owners, and stakeholders. The other S corporation extender made permanent by the chairman's discussion draft has to do with charitable contributions. For most taxpayers, gifts of appreciated property produce a deduction equal to the property's fair market value. S corporations who donate appreciated property will incur a future tax liability because of the way the current rules work. This unintended result was remedied as part of the 2006 Pension Reform Act. This provision was temporary, and while Congress has extended it numerous times, it expired again at the end of 2013. Making this provision permanent would help ensure that S corporations owners fully benefit from the value of their donations to charities. Beyond these 2 extenders, there exists a significant opportunity for improving the S corporation rules to ensure that S corporations can compete with other entity types. The provisions are part of the bipartisan S Corporation Modernization Act, sponsored by Representatives Reichert and Representative Kind. I am pleased that the chairman's tax reform discussion draft makes permanent several of these reforms. Mr. Chairman, let me close by saying that making permanent the 5-year built-in gains recognition period preserves the original intent of the 1986 Tax Reform Act and is critical to helping corporations deploy locked-up resources. I appreciate the chairman and the committee for considering this provision, along with all other S corporation reforms, and I look forward to your questions.